How's it going, everyone? Welcome to a special edition of Renegade Jukebox on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. Joining me, as always, we've got Nick.
I wish I was back with better circumstances, guys.
Yeah. On March 25th, 2022, it was reported that we lost Taylor Hawkins, the drummer for the Foo Fighters. And already one of the most tragic things about this is we lost him while they were on tour in South America.
And that's such a bummer too, because Mike, you've said you've never gotten the chance to see them live.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get into a point about that later. But yeah, that just kind of makes the entire situation sting all the more.
Yeah. On top of the fact that Dave's already been through one tragic loss of a band member, and that's partially where the Foo Fighters origin comes from. But rather than make this, an audio Wikipedia page, let's just reminisce about our own experiences with the band. Starting with just your very first exposure. Nick, I'll let you start.
I have no idea what my first exposure would have been, honestly. I mostly just kind of followed whatever my mom was listening to, whatever CD she bought. That was what got played in the house nonstop for at least the next 5 or 6 months, I would say. So a lot of their 2000s output, that would be what would get played on like the stereo in the living room all the time. So but at the same time, I also have vivid memories of seeing all of the music videos on Much Music and MTV. And then eventually just on my own free will, once, I started using LimeWire more in high school, giving my computers all of the viruses. Yeah, eventually I would just try to get every album that I could by them.
Nice. I actually have a very distinct memory of seeing on VH1 during probably one of their top 20 countdowns or just a random music block. My very first exposure to Foo Fighters was the music video for Learn to Fly. And we'll get more into their music videos later, because I think they have some of the most fun concepts. But Learn to Fly is a special one, because this was also my first exposure to Tenacious D. That's Jack Black and Kyle Gass. They're the I don't exactly know what they were doing on the plane. They were doing some sort of tampering with the coffee machine or something. But they only show up in the beginning and the end of the video, and then the video itself is just the band being their own goofy selves.
They're in the video because Dave Grohl is friends with Jack Black and Kyle Gass, so they have to be there.
Basically. And as for the first album of theirs that I owned, that was their 2002 record, One by One, which remains one of my favorite albums of all time. I don't know if it's my favorite Foo Fighters album, but at the time this was one that got a lot of replay when I was younger.
Which is weird too, because I also really like this album, but weird enough, a lot of people don't like it, and I don't get it.
Yeah. And some of the criticisms don't really make a whole lot of sense. The only one that I could kind of see is this was one of those albums that was produced and was a casualty of what was referred to as the loudness war. And you can kind of hear that in the in the way that this album sounds. It's a lot compared to their, some of their other albums. It's a lot crunchier. It's heavier. It sounds, a lot more intense.
It's not like, Dave's Probot album, but it's definitely the Foo Fighters with like a crunchier guitar tone, but still arena built.
Exactly. And any specific tracks off One by One that you go back to the most?
All My Life has always been my favorite. I know I could probably go with a deep cut off of it, but I don't know. Something about the riffs on it, something about the playing on it, the drumming in particular. It just makes it a perfect song to either open up a show with or just what I was watching the documentary they put out when Wasting Light came out, and Chris Shiflett, he said there's always that part in the show whenever, it could be a good show or it could be a bad show. If it's a bad show, that's when it gets good again, when they start playing that.
Nice. For me, I am going to go with a deep cut. Halo is probably the song I come back to the most. I do love All My Life, and like you said, as an opener, it's just fantastic. But there's just something about Halo that kind of makes it the perfect Foo Fighters song. That and times like these are another, that's just another stone cold classic.
Which that song also showed up in American Wedding.
Oh.
Yeah, how do I know this? I'm a 2000s kid. Of course I have to know this.
Makes sense.
For me also, going back to the previous album, the first one that actually had Taylor playing on it, because I really feel like, as much as he blends in really well in the Color and the Shapes music videos and like really nails the drum parts, he doesn't play on that album. I kind of have to stress that. That's why we're not going album for album, really, because he doesn't join the band until after that record is recorded. So There Is Nothing Left to Lose is really the first time we hear him play on an album.
Mm-hmm. And he does such a good job, not necessarily emulating Dave Grohl's drum style, but he like finds the right balance between like picking up right where the last album left off, but also kind of making his own mark.
Yeah, because I was actually going to say one of my favorite songs by them, period, is probably Stacked Actors. Just the riffing, the playing. Like, it's the perfect song built for an arena with the drum tracks to get the crowd moving, but at the same time, just those hooks, man. It works. So, and it was also in Guitar Hero Metallica.
Oh, I forgot about that, actually.
Yeah, that was one of the songs that I would always... It was either that or Albatross by Corrosion of Conformity that I play the most of the non-Metallica songs.
Nice.
But I mean, there's tons of gems on that album. Like, everybody knows how great Breakout is.
I already kind of mentioned that Learn to Fly has just a special place in my heart. Generator is a cool departure from their usual sound, at least in terms of like Dave using like a vocoder for
the talk box intro.
Yeah.
The album that I was jamming the most after finding out what happened, one of I don't know if you jammed this one, Mike, but I actually jammed the live album, Skin and Bones. That was the one that I need to put this on.
I spun a little bit of that album. Yeah, this album is great.
Even on an acoustic album, Taylor is just attacking that kit.
Yep.
Which one of my favorites. Let's cut right into this because this is probably one of my favorite songs by the band and one that I kind of grew more appreciation as I got older. Cold Day in the Sun.
Yes. But before we talk about that, can we just go back to the album that they were supporting on the Skin and Bones tour, In Your Honor?
Oh yeah, go. They kind of tie together, so it makes sense.
Yeah. So what's cool about In Your Honor is it's a double album, but what's different about it is disc 1 is a traditional Foo Fighters record, but disc 2 is all acoustic, and some of my favorite songs are from this album, like Miracle, On the Mend, Virginia Moon, and yes, Cold Day in the Sun.
I can't really tell what kind of influences are on the song, but it sounds like a Foo Fighters song, but it also doesn't. It sounds like a wholly unique track on the album.
And I think part of that is because what was this the first time that Taylor Hawkins took the mic?
I believe so. I could be wrong, but for now, let's go. You know what? I'm going to pull up Wikipedia so I don't make an ass of myself on the internet. I will actually fact check myself. I think he does lead vocals on Life of Illusion on One by One, which looks like that was a Joe Walsh cover.
Oh.
And also, before I forget, because I was jamming this before we started recording, their cover of Have a Cigar from the Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack with Brian May from Queen on it, actually.
And
so,
that's another cool thing I love about this band is you know, when they do covers, be it live or in the studio, they don't just pick easy targets. They just genuinely pick songs that they enjoy and want to put their spin on.
Yeah, which Have a Cigar is like, obviously it's a popular Pink Floyd song, but it's not just them playing the song note for note. It's them actually, it sounds like a Foo Fighters song, but it's Have a Cigar by Pink Floyd, and they've got Brian May from Queen on it.
And the other thing is, it's pretty obvious that they're big fans of Queen because one of their, at the very least, live cover staples is "Tie Your Mother Down," which I first heard them cover this on a VH1 program from I think like either 2006 or 2007 called VH1 Rock Honors, and this was like the performance that opened the show, and it was just great. And I'm pretty sure Brian May was on stage with them too.
Let me actually make sure that they actually showed up. No, it was John Paul Jones and Jimmy Page showed up for Ramble On and Rock and Roll. So for whatever reason, I thought Brian May showed up for that gig.
Still though, this just kind of shows how respected the band is in like the rock and roll community.
Yeah, as much as we are big into extreme metal, like at the same time, sometimes you just need a big arena rock tune with big riffs and loud drums, as Dave would put it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Cold Day in the Sun, that's one for me that I don't know, just that song for me is aged like wine, especially since I've been lucky enough to see them live twice, once in 2015 and once in 2018. They put on a killer show, and whenever they play that song live, it always goes down super. I don't feel like people appreciate it as much as they should have, but now that obviously Taylor is no longer with us, I think that, hopefully that song gets a little bit of some second life, because just him and Dave, the chemistry they have doing their vocal trade-offs in that song, it's great.
Oh yeah.
And plus, I just given that Taylor isn't with us, I'm glad you mentioned On the Mend, because that actually is a song Dave wrote about Taylor's OD in 2001.
Oh, I actually didn't know that at the time.
Yeah. In the documentary, it states that Taylor was doing a bunch of partying, and just, I think it was some European tour that they were doing at the time, and Taylor was big into partying at that point. Like, he's, in his own words, he said in an interview years later, he said that I wasn't an addict, but I was big into partying, basically, and must have taken a bad batch and just wound up in the hospital because of it. And the guy was in a bloody coma, so there's a reason it's called On the Mend. It's because he's literally just in a coma, and this is kind of Dave singing to him.
Wow. So listening to In Your Honor again is going to feel very bittersweet once I get to that track.
Yeah, it'll hit differently. And that's the thing I'm going to mention too, because Mike, I said earlier, you said you've never gotten to see them. Guys, if you get the chance to see your favorite bands, go fucking see them. Don't bullshit your way out of it. Say, oh, I've got work, or oh, I've got a date, or oh, I've got to hang out with the people I hang out every. No, go see your favorite band, because you have no idea if you're going to get if you're even going to get the chance to see them again.
Yeah, as someone who doesn't often get the chance to go to as many live shows now, please don't miss your opportunity, because like, you have no idea if it's going to be their last.
And trust me, because the Foos, they always put on a good show. Like, the 2 times I've seen them, they play as long as possible. They throw in some covers for fun, but not for, just to pad the set list out. They actually make it fun, and they mix it up. They don't pull what Megadeth do and just play the same 10 or 12 songs over and over, tour after tour. Like, yeah, you'll hear the Everlongs, the Learn to Flies, the All My Lifes, but then they'll throw an odd one here and there in there for you, so it's not just a repeat of what you saw before.
And speaking of covers, I'd be remiss if we didn't mention their cover of Little Nicky by Prince.
I'll let you take the floor with this one, because I don't think I heard this one.
I don't remember exactly when I first heard it, but at the time I wasn't that familiar with Prince's like discography. So I just thought this was like, oh, hey, cool, new Foo Fighters song. I didn't realize until I looked up later, oh, they're covering Prince. That's actually really cool. Let me see when exactly it came out.
Have it open on their greatest hits album. Apparently, this was actually a B-side, I think. No, I'm just seeing they did a song for the Orange County soundtrack in 2002. Yeah, I'm not sure, because this is the first time I've really heard of that cover. Honestly, I might have to check it out once we're done recording.
Yeah, but listen to that song, and then go back and listen to the single "Shame Shame" from Medicine at Midnight. and you can most definitely hear the Prince influence. And that's just a cool thing about the Foo Fighters is like their influences are just kind of all over the place. Like we know Dave is a big metalhead because Probot exists, and the fictional band in their horror movie, which we'll talk about in a little bit, um, their horror movie Studio 666, the fictional band Dream Widow is like a very old school metal band, and I think they just put out their like the album not too long ago.
Yeah, the Dream Widow EP just came out. From what I'm aware, apparently Dave was really behind on deadlines to put that out. So, and I should also mention Dave does all the instrumentation on that Dream Widow EP.
Which is just kind of very typical Dave.
Yeah, it makes sense, but you know what? I've got a lot to say about Studio 666, so why not? Let's just, I don't know, just have fun talking about that, because that was a fun theater experience, man.
Oh yeah. Like I don't want to say it's my favorite movie of the year. But it's the way I've described this to like my friends is that it's the kind of silly silly I'm making a movie with my friends project that's really in line with Tenacious D's The Pick of Destiny, in that it's really just the band having fun, but also legitimately making like a pretty intense horror film at times.
My thing is that I know a lot of people were pretty critical of the band can't act, they're not the greatest actors, it's a schlocky horror movie. But at the same time, they know what kind of movie this is. It's not like they're trying to like top The Exorcist or something. It just sounds more like they just wanted to make a schlocky, gory, R-rated haunted house movie with as much gore as possible, with Dave tapping into his devil character from those Tenacious D videos.
Exactly.
Like, how can you not have fun with that and not have fun with Dave pressuring Taylor to nail a drum part and then decapitating him with a cymbal? Although, honestly, I think we can both agree the best death is reserved for their now current keyboardist, Rami Jaffe. Literally, him having sex with the next door neighbor and then them both getting chainsawed in half.
Oh, that is easily the best death.
Never in my life have I wanted to see Dave Grohl pull a Friday the 13th and just chainsaw a couple screwing together and just see the most gory shit happen and just watch the bed get covered in blood.
And there actually is some horror cred, like there is some like genuine horror cred in that John Carpenter composed like the main theme of the film. He didn't do all of the music, but
that honor belongs to Roy Mayorga of Stone Sour.
Yep. But still, just to have John and his son involved, even in like the smallest capacity, is still pretty awesome.
Yeah, and it's pretty clear that they're not just going, we're in a horror movie, let's make fun of how dumb some horror movies can be. No, it seems like they actually wanted to take it seriously to some extent and make a legitimate genre movie. And, even if it tanks, they at least got to say they made a horror movie.
Yeah, this was just something that they did for fun. This isn't like, this wasn't necessarily a big production. This was just done in the same house that they recorded Medicine at Midnight,
which I know there are a lot of people who don't like a lot of the recent albums that have come out. I'm not sure how you feel, Mike, but to be honest, I kind of just needed a bit of a break from them after I want to say about like 2010, 2011-ish.
So around the
So
time of Wasting Light.
yeah, I kind of took a bit of a break. So really, Medicine at Midnight was like the first album in ages that I went out of my way to be like, okay, I'll listen to the whole thing front to back. And my thing is that my general impression was always just the popular hipster kids that I went to school with. They wouldn't give this band the time of day, but then by the time like Wasting Light came out, then they were just like, now it's cool for us to like them. It's like, come make up your fucking minds. And now I'm just like, yeah, maybe I am kind of trying to be that cool person that likes what other people don't. But I dug Medicine at Midnight. I dug the riffy tracks that were on it. And I at least paid attention to what singles they were releasing at the time too. I'll at least say that. But the main thing was just, again, big arena riffs, loud drums that sound great, and they put on a great live show. That's all I really got to say, is that if you can at least make these songs sound great live, you did your job. And that's what I feel like the Foo Fighters do great, is when they just make big arena tunes.
Yeah, and that is what I liked about Medicine at Midnight. I wanted to like their previous record, Concrete and Gold, and I really dug their like the first single, Run, which I thought like if that was the direction the entire album went in, then this would have probably been one of their better later day records. The album as a whole wasn't quite as energetic. It's not a complete wash. It's just not one of their more memorable albums. But something I will say about the band is they do a really good job picking their singles. If whether or not it's like the band themselves or the label, but they usually do a good job picking the singles. The Foo Fighters is one of those bands that works as both like an album band and a single band at the same time. Other bands can only really do one or the other.
Yeah, it's not like they're Papa Roach, where they just kind of design an album around, okay, here's our big singles, okay, let's pad out an album. Or it's not like whatever Octane band, Flavor of the Minute, generic metalcore band that doesn't scream is just going to put out like something that just is designed to break through to the modern rock radio. I can never say that about a Foo's record, is just that I've never really felt like they've just made an album just to pad it out.
Right. And as much as their later catalog is like not as well received, I can never say that the band phoned it in. But I do have to ask, what would you say was like the last like great Foo Fighters album that you heard?
Mine, I would go with, this might not be the most popular choice, but probably Echo, Silence, Patience, and Grace. That was the one that I really liked in high school. So again, it has the Pretender on it. Let It Die is great. Yeah, kind of a tough choice, to be honest. I've never really, I don't really want to give too much of a cop-out answer, but at the same time, either that or I'd have to revisit a lot of like the 2010s period records, I guess.
You made a good argument for Echoes, but at the time that Wasting Light came out, I was thinking like, wow, this album was really impressive. It like I thought this was going to be like, the beginning of their second act, and that's not entirely wrong because now the band is like as big as they are because apparently there aren't really a lot of those anymore.
That's the one thing I will say that I get annoyed by whenever I've gone to see them live. The only time that I even remotely like the opening band, seeing the Foo Fighters, was the first time I saw them because they actually brought Royal Blood out as the opening act.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then that was behind that first record they did. And just, I find that they don't, like, I'm not saying that they should just take out, again, insert flavor of the month Octane band here, or just whoever they get to play the side stages at one of the DWP festivals. But I don't know. I just kind of find like some of the Lollapalooza bands that they take out that, just try to reel in that hipster crowd. I just kind of go, this just isn't gelling with me. Like, come on, get on to like the bigger tunes, please.
I hear what you're saying. One of the other reasons I'm a little bit disappointed I never got to see Foo Fighters live is, and I don't know if I can actually confirm this, but there was one year that they were invited to play at K Rockathon, which is my local radio station's summer music festival. But the reason they couldn't go was because Dave had like a birthday party or some family gathering. And you know how Dave is like famously a mama's boy. So obviously family comes first. That would have been just so cool to see him live and like in that sort of environment. Because they'd be playing with bands that are, closer to their style.
Yeah, and I do get that they kind of come from that alternative route, but at the same time, if you're going to take one of these indie bands out, at least have it have something with a little bit more energy and oomph to it, not, some that I really feel belongs more like at Lollapalooza or Bonnaroo or something. Yeah, just take out somebody more energetic and fun to watch live. But I mean, that's the one thing I'll kind of add to your point about the later records, though. And I'm going to kind of give away what band we're going to cover next. Once we're done with all of the Machine Head records. That's the one thing I'll say about the Foo Fighters, kind of the way I'll say about All That Remains when, unfortunately, Ollie Herbert passed in 2018. For as much as even if you don't like some of the later Foo records, Taylor's drumming was never the problem. Kind of like the way, even if I'm aggressively not a fan of a lot of newer All That Remains, Ollie Herbert's guitar playing was never the issue.
Right. Yeah, just to reiterate a point I said earlier, the Foo Fighters never have never phoned it in. They're even on a record like there's nothing left to lose. That was a bit more of an experimental record, but even then they're still putting their heart into it.
Yeah, they actually care about the music that they're making. It's not just let's phone this in just to put out another album.
Right.
I guess the more heady question at this point is, do you think that they should continue? Because I'm like, that's some big shoes to fill.
I have been thinking about this question for the past 24 hours, and I've come up with two answers. On the one hand, I don't think, and I can't speak for Taylor, but I don't think he would want the band to dissolve simply because he's no longer with us. Dave in particular, is a very creative individual, and creative people can only go so long without creating. So even if like the Foo Fighters um are not quite the same, like even if the Foo Fighters themselves don't continue, Dave is going to want to go back in the studio um and just put something out. Like we kind of alluded to earlier, that's how the Foo Fighters even was formed, because when Kurt Cobain passed away, Dave being Dave, he had songs that he wanted to get out, so he recorded the first Foo Fighters record, and the rest is history.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean,
but
it's
the other answer is, should the Foo Fighters continue? It's up to them whether or not they want to. Now, how they continue, I would say in studio, Dave can go back to recording the drum parts, and then on tour, either Dave stays on the drums, because they the band now has what, three guitarists. Technically, if they wanted to, the band can just stay the five of them. Dave moves to the drums. Pat and Chris can stay on guitar, Nate on bass, Dave on drums, and Rami on keyboards. Or
everyone stays as is and they get a fill-in drummer.
yeah, but then the question is, like, who do you get to fill Taylor's shoes?
Yeah, because that's my thing is, aside from Dave, Taylor would always be like the first person I would associate with the band, to be honest.
Exactly.
Like he's just, aside from Nate, he's just been there the longest without having quit the band. Because I mean, even in the back and forth documentary, they mention how it just, the first couple of years of the band, they just kind of in interviews, everybody was just, the running joke would be, so who's in the band this week? But yeah, like aside from Dave, Taylor Hawkins would always be the second person I'd associate with them. And I just can't help but go, I don't think you could fill those shoes, is the main thing, which is kind of why, if they do continue, maybe I would prefer Dave take over in the studio and then they get a fill in, helps lessen the expectations and maybe softens the blow. But, it's purely up to them.
Yeah, really, at the end of the day, I don't want these musicians to just stop playing just because Taylor's no longer with us. I understand them like wanting to take a break for either like the rest of however long they were supposed to be on tour, or just the rest of this year. But eventually they're going to want to they're going to want to create again,
Yeah.
in some capacity.
Yeah, kind of what Linkin Park are allegedly doing after Chester passed, which I think that, as much as it would suck for, us, the fans, not to get the chance to go see them, because I was supposed to go see them in September, actually. I can't help but agree with you that maybe it would be a wise idea if they did take the rest of the year off to just kind of reconvene and figure this out.
Yeah, because it's not going to be an easy decision, and they're put in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation.
Yeah, which I don't know. The only thing I can kind of think right now is just like how many great bands that have lost a member how much more dull of a world would it be if they just stopped making great music? Like, just imagine how dull of a world we'd live in if after Cliff Burton died, Metallica just said, nope, we're done.
Or how about if AC/DC just ended after Bon Scott?
Or Slipknot with Paul Gray. I mean, it's not a frontman situation. I get it. But at the same time, when, one of your two faces of the band isn't there, I guess we'll let history write itself.
Now I have some good news for those who, still want to keep Taylor's memory alive. He does have a project in the works, or that was in the works. So in 2021, Hawkins, Dave Navarro, and Chris Chaney of Jane's Addiction formed a supergroup called NHC. Hawkins even described it as somewhere between Rush and the Faces. And I don't know what like they're calling their album. Maybe they're just calling it NHC, but supposedly this is coming out later this year. So that's actually something, just based on how he described it, something I'm very much looking forward to checking out.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to jam that when it sees the light of day. I might actually jam his 3 solo records that he put out in 2006, 2010, and 2019.
The Coattail Riders.
Yeah, apparently, whenever Mike Portnoy does his best of the year lists, usually one of Taylor's solo records that he does shows up on it. So I might have to take Mike Portnoy up on that and actually give those albums a spin. Also, for a lot of people who don't know this, he actually played on one of Coheed and Cambria's albums.
Yeah, that's right. Okay,
Good
it
Apollo,
was, yeah.
I'm Burning Star 4, Volume 2, the long-ass title that I will never say again.
Good Apollo, I'm Burning Star 4, Volume 2, No World for Tomorrow. Shout out to my friend PJ Campbell, who is a huge Coheed and Cambria fan. So now that I know that Hawkins was on a couple of those tracks, I might have to spin that one again too.
He actually plays on the whole record because apparently Chris Peeney from Dillinger Escape Plan, I believe it is, apparently there was some label issues, so he couldn't play on the album, so they got Taylor Hawkins to actually play on it. And plus, because it's produced by, I'm probably going to mispronounce his name horribly, but Nick Raskulinecz, he actually produces a good chunk of the Foo's albums. He produced this, so it makes sense that he'd probably call up Taylor and be like, hey, do you want to play with this, huge conceptual prog rock band? And then he's like, sign me up.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So, as crappy of a thing as it is to say after a famous musician dies to just now go and check out their back go and check out a lot of his solo stuff. Go stream it, go buy the vinyl, go do what you got to do to get a hold of it and jam it.
Hell yeah. And anything else that we should talk about, because in the 25 plus years that he's been active as a musician, he's had quite the long career.
I don't know what to say at this rate. It's a huge loss. It's a sudden loss, and it's a bummer. Especially because, the Foos have an active habit of putting out albums every 2 or 3 years at least. You know, it just sucks that if the Foos do continue, that he won't be on the next record, and
Yeah,
that he won't have that same energy on that same energy that he has won't be there on stage anymore. This just sucks. I don't know what else to say, man.
yeah. This is a loss that really, really got to me.
Oh, it
And
hit, man. I could barely get out of bed. Like, I just kind of fell asleep after I got done watching the Back and Forth documentary. I just went straight to bed, threw one of their records on, and I just slept until like 11.
same. This was kind of like one of my I just had a very unproductive weekend that has basically just been consisting of jamming the Foo Fighters and basically just kind of kicking back, um taking things easy. If you want to see the Foo Fighters final performance, look up on YouTube or wherever, clips from their Lollapalooza set in Argentina. Like the two songs that really kind of made me emotional, going back to them, were, again, another mention of Queen. Taylor took the mic and sang one of my favorite songs, "Somebody to Love," and then Hawkins's final performance was ending the show with "Everlong." And
That's the first time in a while I've heard of them ending the show with Everlong. So that just kind of pours more salt in the wound.
yeah, and it it makes now listening to that song, and by extension The Color and the Shape, a lot more bittersweet.
Yeah, I think I put it best. This just sucks, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you take anything from this, if you've never heard a Foo Fighters record, you pretty much can't start at any wrong spot. They're generally pretty consistent. They consistently put out albums every 2 to 4 years, roughly. And very, I would say pretty much you'll never have a bad time listening to it. And we have Taylor to thank for that, for his awesome drumming and his stage presence and energy. And to add to your point about them doing Queen covers, the times I've seen them, they've done Under Pressure.
Oh,
Yeah. And I believe when they did that cover live, he would do I think he would do Bowie's parts and Dave would do Freddie Mercury's parts.
nice.
Just thinking about that now more, that just stings even more now, man.
Yeah. So, Taylor Hawkins, may your memory be a blessing.
Rest in peace, Taylor. Thanks for the years of great music. Huge part of my childhood. Just thanks, man.
And that'll do it for this special episode of Renegade Jukebox. You know where to find both of us. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.